The King's Avatar, Chapter 1596, Vice Captain's Song, Audio Source, WuShoWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1596, Vice Captain's Song. Translator, Noam Yummy. Editor, Noam Yummy. In recent years, Zhang Boteo's placings in the All-Star rankings were quite high. Everyone felt like he was an amazing player, but whenever people were asked to say what specifically was amazing about him, 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't be able to answer back. They had that feeling in their heart, but they didn't know how to describe it in words. Even Team Samsara themselves couldn't seem to find the right words to describe their vice-captain. In the end, his fame seemed to simply be because he was the vice-captain of a championship team. And now, Yishu had given him high praise, terrifying. A calm terror. Chen Guo couldn't immediately understand what Yishu meant by that. She really wanted to drag Yishu over and explain it more clearly, but right now, Mo Fan's situation was more concerning. A calm terror. It wasn't important that she understood it. What was more important was whether Mo Fan could. A 27-hit combo. This was the number on the combo counter. It was extremely eye-catching. Even a close-ranged class would have difficulty pulling off this long of a combo. Spellblades had it somewhat easier to get a high-hit combo since their wave swords counted for several hits, but a 27-hit combo in one breath wasn't easy at all. Spellblades were swordsmen, but unlike blade masters and berserkers, their strikes didn't feel like strikes. For those classes, combos were an important metric to measure a player's skill. On the other hand, spellblades were more similar to mage classes like elementalists and witches. Although they could also combo, no one measured an elementalist's skill based off how long their combos were. It would almost be forcing the elementalist into doing something they shouldn't be doing. As a result, if these types of mage classes ever put out long combos, it was mainly a sign that they were crushing a noob. However, this was the Glory Championship Finals, a battle between the very best players. No matter how new or how much of an underdog Happy was to reach this step, it was impossible for them to be noobs. There were no noobs in the finals. Mo Fan may be a rookie, but he was undoubtedly a troublesome opponent. Even so, Zhang Boteo was able to get his Spellblade to perform such a long combo against this sort of opponent on the finals stage. This obviously wasn't him crushing a noob. It was an unprecedented display of brilliance. When the combo reached 30, the crowd went wild. After Jozakai had lost to Yishu, Samsara's fans seemed to be unable to accept it and became dispirited. But starting from that Nebula wave sword, their spirits reignited. With each hit, their spirits rose to new heights. When the combo counter hit 30, a Spellblade performing a 30-hit combo, their blood was boiling. Cheers, applause. The entire stadium was filled with shouts of Zhang Boteo's name. The silence had finally been broken, and the one who did it was Zhang Boteo, Samsara's vice-captain. The crowd suddenly started to sing. No one knew who started it, but the person wasn't able to get the whole crowd going. It didn't seem like many people knew the song. Even the fans singing it weren't in unison. It was a mess of noise, and the song lyrics were unclear. Their unfamiliarity with the song leaked in every way it could. Even so, they continued to sing and sing. Suddenly, a powerful and united chant began to reverberate in everyone's ears as if the entire song had been a build-up for this chorus. When you're in joy, that's when he strikes. When you're in joy, that's when he strikes. Those who couldn't sing, those who didn't know the lyrics, when this phrase came, the entire stadium seemed to echo with this chant, again and again. This was the song of Samsara's vice-captain. Even the fans weren't familiar with it. When they sang it, not many fans knew it. In fact, very few fans knew it. This was because their team had Jozakai, and all the flashy stuff was done by him. Numerous songs had been composed for Jozakai, but the fans hadn't forgotten about their vice-captain. Even though he wasn't a flashy player, just like their song said, when the opponent's feeling happy, their vice-captain strikes. They would always remember this point clearly. Like today, their Josukai had unexpectedly lost. The fans didn't care what exactly their opponents were feeling, but in any case they believed that their opponents would definitely be in glee seeing Josukai's defeat. The crowd had become depressed as a result. But at this moment, their vice-captain stood up, executing a rarely seen high-hit combo from a spellblade, awakening the crowd and burning down their opponent's delight. Their vice-captain didn't disappoint them. They had been so downtrodden that they had forgotten to put their hopes onto him, yet he still stood up and gave them the support they need. It was because he was always so reliable in these crucial moments that Jong Boteo became so popular. Placing high on the All-Star rankings wasn't that easy. It showed that he truly had support from a huge number of fans. "You can do it. You have to win. We're the champions." The chant ended, and the cheering began again. Samsara's home crowd had recovered, and the happy fans in the away team seats were once again surrounded in enemy territory. Mo Fan wouldn't know about any of this. Even if he knew, he probably wouldn't have any reaction. He definitely wasn't the "you" in the song. He hadn't been in Joy 30 hits. Mo Fan hadn't been able to escape. He had tried to search for openings, but his opponent would always patch those immediately. Mo Fan could faintly feel something. But even though a 30-hit combo sounded long, in reality, it was only a matter of seconds. He didn't have time to think carefully about what that feeling was. Suddenly, the attacks stopped. Spellblade skills were strong, but also had relatively long cooldowns. After this combo, an opening soon appeared because he didn't have any suitable skills to continue it. Dodge. Charge. These two thoughts flashed through Mo Fan's mind. Charge. Empty Waves was in front of him, 4.5 steps away. For a ninja, this distance was negligible. Running and then re-establishing an offense might not get him this sort of opportunity. Deception rushed out, forming hand seals. Ninjutsu, ground shrinking technique. 4.5 steps became 2 steps. Deception had closed in onto Empty Waves. However, all he saw was the cold light from Empty Waves' divine chains. It wasn't magic but a sharp sword light. Moonlight slash. With a flash of light, Deception was launched into the air. Naturally, the second part of the dual moon slash followed. Full moonlight slash. Full moonlight slash's blow-away effect pushed Deception away, giving Empty Waves space to swing his sword again. Wave Wheel Slasher. The waves of magic locked Deception into place. That 4.5 steps of distance hadn't been an opportunity, it had been bait. His setup hadn't worked on Yishu, but he didn't lose confidence in himself. Facing Mo Fan, he calmly made these arrangements. His utilization of Mo Fan's strengths and weaknesses became the core of his setup. Mo Fan seemed to have stepped into a quagmire. The more he moved, the deeper he fell. Earth Wave Sword. Empty Waves slashed again with his sword, sending an Earth Wave Sword at Deception. Pung. Purple smoke suddenly spread out, engulfing Deception in the Earth Wave Sword. Ninjutsu. Smoke Bomb. Jong Boteo reacted quickly. WuxaWorldAudio.com. His Earth Wave Sword had missed. He couldn't see where Mo Fan was, and he didn't know whether Mo Fan would run or attack him. As a result, he had Empty Waves retreat. First, open up some distance between them. Then, he saw a figure dart out from the purple smoke from where the Earth Wave Sword had swept towards. Shadow Clone Technique. Deception had been in the air when he threw out the Earth Wave Sword. To dodge the attack, he could have only used a skill. Ghost Slash. Jong Boteo had been ready. He swung his divine chains, using a Ghost Slash straight towards Deception, sending him flying. But then, 1, 2, 3. Deception after Deception rushed out from the purple smoke, while the sword light from his Ghost Slash was still moving. It wasn't Shadow Clone Technique. It was Shadow Dance. Jong Boteo couldn't help but be surprised. He knew that there was an opening before the Earth Wave Sword would arrive when Wave Wheel Slasher ended. If Mo Fan took advantage of the opening well enough, he could dodge it. But Mo Fan had actually been able to use Shadow Dance during this tiny opening. Ninja hand seals could be considered as a cast time. It was just that the cast time depended on the player's hand speed. Using Shadow Dance with such a tiny opening was truly brave, yet to actually succeed showed how frightening his hand speed was. What was more amazing was that Shadow Dance succeeded, but he didn't hurry to attack. He first sent out a bait to lure him into attacking. Then, while he was still in the attack's ending lag, he attacked. Wasn't this what he had just been doing to Mo Fan? This punk. A tooth for a tooth so fast? For a moment, Empty Waves was surrounded by shadow clones. For a Spellblade, it wasn't easy to deal with attacks from all sides. Empty Waves swung his sword, using normal attacks to parry and block what attacks he could. In opening, he raised his sword, Waltzing Wave Sword. This Waltzing Wave Sword's arc was extremely large. As soon as it came out, it started to curve, dispersing the Deception Shadow clone to his side. It didn't stop there, continuing its arc towards the next one. Zhang Boteo's Waltzing Wave Sword was used adeptly. He had it go around him. After it hit a target, its power would decrease, but it would keep going, hitting target after target. In an instant, the Waltzing Wave Sword went in a large arc, destroying 3 of Deception's shadow clones. A huge hole was created in the encirclement. Empty Wave swung his sword again, a fire wave sword opening a path as he rushed out. But Mo Fan refused to let him go. He cancelled his Shadow Dance and intercepted Empty Wave's ninjutsu, Exploding Flame Dragon. Boom! 2 balls of fire erupted. The fire wave sword's burst was extremely strong, sending Deception flying far away. But at the same time, Empty Waves was also hit full force by Deception's attack. Exploding Flame Dragon, a level 75 ninja skill. Even when matched against the Spellblade's most powerful wave slash, its damage wouldn't lose out. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1597. A good but unsustainable game. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1597. A good but unsustainable game. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Mo Fan suddenly went aggressive. To outsiders, it seemed to simply be a different choice due to the circumstances, a change in tempo. But to Happy, it was another breakthrough for Mo Fan. Mo Fan had grown as a scrap picker. His instinct was to prioritize his survival, now and in the past. His entire playstyle revolved around survival. In his previous matches, there were times when he rushed his opponent, but this sort of blow-for-blow combat was mostly out of helplessness. However, his decision to trade Exploding Flame Dragon for Fire Wave Slash was a proactive choice. This was a step forward towards his future. Turn around and go again. The moment Deception touched the ground, he immediately turned around to attack again. He threw a shuriken to open up a path and quickly formed hand seals. Ninjutsu. Hundreds of streams of water rushed towards Jiang Botao's Empty Waves, but the distance was a bit far. Empty Waves was able to dodge it with ease. However, in that time, Deception turned into a blur and suddenly appeared in front of him. Ninjutsu. Flickering Pursuit. Ninjutsu. Birdfall. Annihilation. Attack. Mo Fan suddenly became extremely aggressive. It was as if he had become a different person. Even if it could be considered a breakthrough, it felt rather exaggerated. Undaunted by dangers, he attacked furiously. At this point, even his teammates on Happy felt surprised at Mo Fan's sudden shift in mentality, let alone Jiang Botao. Deception weaved forward, backwards, to the side, from above, from below, all around Empty Waves, searching everywhere he could for an opening to attack. Empty Waves seemed to be at a loss. Jiang Botao was clearly caught off guard. Samsara had obviously studied their opponents in the finals, and standout players like Mo Fan, who had clear and defined play styles, were relatively easier to grasp. In the first game in the finals, Mo Fan hadn't given them much trouble. It had only been 3 days since then, yet it was almost like he was a different person. They had never seen him play this way in the finals, in the semi-finals, in the regular season. It just had to be now. Nice. Beautiful. Chen Guo cheered. Yeah, good job. Ye Xiu nodded his head. What he saw wasn't just Mo Fan doing what he had never done before. What he saw was Mo Fan's purpose and goal. For someone like him who prioritized survival, why would he suddenly charge in aggressively all of a sudden? Because he noticed that Jiang Botao's empty waves currently had no skills available to use. Spellblade skills were powerful, but their cooldowns were long. Not caring about combos was hard for normal players, but for pro players, it was worse for a Spellblade to overuse their skills to continue a combo. To produce a combo, attacks need to be chained together fast enough. However, for Spellblades, if they tried to chain their skills together that fast, their cooldowns wouldn't be able to keep up and soon, they would have no skills left to use. To guarantee that there were always skills that could be used, classes like Spellblades could not pursue these types of long and flashy combos. Jiang Botao had performed this type of combo in this match though. The spectators had been in awe watching it, even singing their vice-captain's song. However, the pro players knew what this 30-hit Spellblade combo would entail. Mo Fan had caught on, choosing to rush down Jiang Botao, doing what he didn't like to do. Jiang Botao hadn't expected this to happen. He had performed that combo in order to stir the crowd. How could he not know that their fans were downcast after Zhou Zekai's defeat? If he could take out Ye Xiu beautifully, he could boost their morale. Unfortunately, he failed. Instead, Ye Xiu's Lord Grim used his 4% to take out his 24%. The crowd's morale sunk even lower. As a result, when he fought against Mo Fan, he did a risky Spellblade combo. The reason that he took this risk was because he reckoned that Mo Fan wouldn't seize the opening that came afterwards. That player would always play his own way, refusing to interact with his opponent, regardless if it was for better or for worse. But he was wrong. Not only did Mo Fan take advantage of the opening, he was very decisive, staking everything on it. Mo Fan still hadn't opened up to interacting with his teammates, but he had opened a new page on the stage. Mo Fan went all out, showing a fighting strength that he had never shown before. Jiang Botao did his best to defend. He's playing beautifully. Ye Xiu agreed with Chen Guo. But beautiful wasn't enough. Mo Fan had taken advantage of the opening, but he wasn't able to fully utilize it. He knew that Jiang Botao didn't have many skills he could use, but he also couldn't finish the battle here. Jiang Botao just needed to defend himself until his skills came back off cooldown, but did Mo Fan have a way to fight his opponent once those skills came off cooldown? Could take it another step and adjust his mentality to hold on to his current advantage? It looked like he didn't. In the end, he lacked experience. Mo Fan was able to seize this opportunity, but he wasn't able to fully take advantage of it. He could burst, but he didn't have the control to maintain a drawn-out offense. To do the latter, he needed to have a deeper understanding of his opponent and his opponent's class. Happy had, of course, analyzed Jiang Botao. At this point, Mo Fan had a good understanding of every class in Glory, but for right now, it wasn't enough. He had created an advantageous situation for himself, but he didn't have the experience to maintain it. It was unfortunate, but it showed hope for the future. He lost. In the end, Mo Fan lost. Jiang Botao had only been caught off guard for an instant. He quickly regained his footing. Even though he hadn't been able to retaliate much, he was able to stabilize the situation. Then, once his skills came off cooldown, he started his counterattack. In the end, he was able to gain back the upper hand and beat Mo Fan. However, Empty Waves only had 11% of his health left. This outcome was far worse than Jiang Botao had expected. He had thought he had complete control over the battle, but he had been caught off guard by Mo Fan's sudden outburst. The lead that he had was reduced to just 11%. It hadn't been easy for him to reinvigorate the crowd, but unfortunately, most of his efforts had been ruined by Mo Fan's counterattack. Luckily, he was still able to win in the end. The Samsara fans didn't feel that their singing had been for nothing. Their vice-captain didn't let them down, so their mood was much better than before. Mo Fan left the stage amidst congratulatory applause. Usually, his non-interactive playstyle was frequently met with boos in away team stadiums. Today, he had shown a surprising amount of aggression. For a moment, Samsara's fans couldn't find anything to pick at. Instead of booing, they applauded his performance. Mo Fan never cared though. He quietly walked back to his team. Nice job. WushOurWorldAudio.com. Everyone on Happy exclaimed. Mo Fan looked at the stage and at the screen. 11%. It was a small difference. Just a bit more and he could have won. No matter how well you played, what was the point if you lost? Mo Fan wasn't happy with the result. As he walked back to his seat, he clenched his fists tightly, staring intently at Jiang Botao's 11% health Empty Waves. Keep up the good work. There will be more chances in the future. Su Mucheng waved her hands towards Mo Fan and said. Mo Fan stared blankly at her. Before he could nod his head, Su Mucheng turned around and headed towards the stage. She was Happy's next player. The Samsara crowd had returned to their usual state, cheering excitedly for their team. Even though Empty Waves only had 11% health left, they had hopes for Jiang Botao. The fans at the away team seats cheered for their team, but the shouts from Samsara's fans drowned them out. Su Mucheng wasn't as expressionless as Mo Fan. She wore a smile on her face as she walked onto the stage. Su Mucheng was Happy's third player in the group arena. She would be playing against Jiang Botao. The match began. Dripstone Cave. For sharpshooters, it provided them space and cover. Su Mucheng's Dancing Rain was a gunner as well, and she could take advantage of the space as well. Because she was longer ranged, it wasn't as good for her as it was for a sharpshooter, but in general, the map was favorable for Su Mucheng. There was no way to choose a perfect map that would make it difficult for every opponent. After all, there would be class overlap between teams. Both teams could have players with similar playstyles as well. When it was advantageous for one team, it could also be advantageous for the other team. When choosing a map, you could only do your best. In today's match, Su Mucheng was Happy's winner. When the battle began, she immediately headed for the center of the cave. Samsara's Jiang Botao took his time though, seeing what the circumstances were. With only 11% of his health remaining, he decided not to go straight for the center, instead choosing to circle around from the left. Su Mucheng gradually approached the center of the map. She naturally didn't see any traces of him. She didn't continue forward, instead stopping immediately. She didn't lean to the left or right. She centered herself at the center and lifted her hand cannon. She looked AEAD, to the left, and to the right. For other classes, the purpose of having a wide field of view was to find the opponent earlier. However, for launches, their attacks could be launched from afar. It didn't matter what route Empty Waves took. It seemed like he wouldn't be able to escape from Dancing Rain's artillery fire. The broadcast cut the screen into two. One part showed Dancing Rain's point of view, while the other showed empty waves. The dripstone was sparsely scattered throughout the cave. Trying to move completely hidden was impossible, and it didn't look like Empty Waves was trying to hide himself. He simply went along a straight line. What was the point of circling around then? Many members of the crowd couldn't help but ask. End chapter. The King's Avatar, Chapter 1598. Still One Eye. Audio source, wushaworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1598. Still One Eye. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The commentators analyzed Empty Waves' movements from different angles. Once Yishu had left the stage, Pan Lin and Li Yibo felt a huge weight off their chests. Their discussions became more colorful and vivid. As the distance between the two players grew nearer, the small screen showing Sumo Chung's perspective grew larger. Where was Empty Waves moving to? The viewers knew, but would Sumo Chung be able to tell? What was the secret behind Jiang Botao's movements? Everyone was trying to figure it out. Empty Waves rushed out from a stalagmite and appeared in Sumo Chung's view. Secret. The discussion between Pan Lin and Li Yibo stopped. The two had been chatting, thinking up all sorts of possibilities. The one possibility that they hadn't talked about was that there was no ulterior motive behind Jiang Botao's movements. How could they say that? The two had the same thought. If they said north, when it was actually south, how could they show their faces? Yishu was an exception. Facing Yishu, they would try not to make any predictions, but they couldn't do that with everyone. There wouldn't be any commentary then. Hurry up and talk. The two characters had encountered each other, but the commentary had suddenly stopped. The director wasn't happy at all and yelled at them. Talk. Fuck off. Pan Lin cursed inwardly, but he had to talk. What a surprise. Jiang Botao. Just let Empty Waves appear in Sumo Chung's view. Pan Lin said powerlessly. The ones most surprised were him and Li Yibo. All of their previous analysis had been wrong. What is he thinking? Even Li Yibo didn't pretend like he knew and simply stated the truth. We can only wait and see, Pan Lin remarked, and then the two went silent again. As soon as Empty Waves appeared, Dancing Rain aimed her cannon at him, but didn't immediately fire at him. Dancing Rain had the range to attack him. However, the farther away the target, the more time there was for the target to dodge. It was hard to guarantee that she would hit him. Sumo Chung didn't feel like her attacks would be much of a threat at this distance. She was better off just doing nothing. Empty Waves didn't rush towards her either. He continued to circle around as if it was just another day in the park. He had already been exposed. What was the point of circling around? Sumo Chung turned, following his movements. Soon, everyone noticed a peculiarity. Whether it was close by or far away, the dripstones were arranged neatly along a jagged line. Empty Waves took cover behind these dripstones. The logic behind this positioning was the same as when the issue evaded Josekai in the first fight of the group arena. Sure enough, Samsara had also discovered this method. Sumo Chung immediately had Dancing Rain rush out, changing her angle to find Empty Waves. None. Empty Waves was nowhere to be seen. Which stalagmite was he hiding behind? Sumo Chung wasn't sure. The spectators could see his location clearly. When Empty Waves escaped from Sumo Chung's line of sight, he immediately began to move inwards to get closer to Dancing Rain. He was aiming for 3 stalagmites, each one taller than the other. It would allow him to close in without being seen. If she moved just a bit more to the side, she would find him. The happy fans were praying anxiously. Sumo Chung's Dancing Rain was just one step off. Step. Dancing Rain finally took that awaited step, widening her vision. However, Empty Waves had already moved from the shortest stalagmite to the next shortest one and was now onto the tallest one. With this switch, Sumuchung's line of sight was blocked by a stalagmite. Jiang Botao was predicting her movements and acting accordingly. Everyone could see this. Jiang Botao hadn't taken advantage of the map too much in his previous two fights. As a result, everyone had overlooked the fact that Samsara had chosen this map. This time, he utilized the map to the fullest, efficiently closing the distance between Empty Waves and Dancing Rain. The distance between the tallest stalagmite and Dancing Rain was completely within the attack range of a Spellblade. Spellblades wouldn't fear launchers in a confrontation at this distance. He reached it. Thunderous applause followed. Jiang Botao reached his goal just as they had expected. As for Sumuchung's Dancing Rain, it seemed like she was still carefully investigating Empty Waves' whereabouts. He can attack, everyone thought. Then, they saw Sumuchung's camera suddenly turn around. Dancing Rain stepped to the side and open-fired. Boom boom boom. The first to attack was unexpectedly Dancing Rain. 3 anti-tank missiles fired. With a bang, a stinger burst apart like fireworks in the air. Then, a roll. Boom boom boom. 3 consecutive explosions. Empty Waves swung his sword, intercepting the 3 anti-tank missiles with a fire wave sword. This was the reason why Spellblades didn't fear launchers at this distance. Their wave swords had a higher priority than launcher artillery shells. A collision between their magic and the launcher's artillery shells would result in an explosion, and their magic would still continue along its original trajectory. The fire wave sword continued to sweep towards Dancing Rain, who rolled away to just barely dodge it. Bang! The stinger split apart in the air. 8 missiles rained down. Spellblades could use their wave swords to intercept these missiles, but these missiles were spread out like an angel scattering flowers. It wasn't possible to intercept them all with one swing. As a result, Empty Waves dodged to the side. Dancing Rain got up from her roll and then set up a mounted gun. Light filled Jiang Botao's screen. A laser beam shot towards him. The two were fighting at mid-range. The laser beam moved faster than anyone could react. Jiang Botao had expected there to be a follow-up to the stinger and was planning on continuing to dodge, but the mounted gun had strengthened laser beam. Even though he predicted correctly, he wasn't able to dodge it. With so little health, why bother making it so complicated? Sumuchung typed out. The 11% health was instantly obliterated under her launcher's heavy firepower. The crowd was dumbfounded. Jiang Botao had circled around and avoided being seen by Sumuchung. Empty Waves successfully got into range. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. But how did it become Sumuchung making the first move? WuxRWorldAudio.com. It had only been an instant, and Empty Waves was dead. The viewers couldn't understand. Too many people couldn't understand. Jiang Botao himself didn't understand either. Had he exposed an opening? No. After casually walking out into view, Jiang Botao had seen Dancing Rain's position. The route that he had chosen to follow afterwards would allow him to hide from Dancing Rain no matter what she did. Yet Sumuchung had been the first to draw first blood, putting him on the back foot. His movements had been completely seen through. How did she do it? Instinct? Or did she guess it? Happy hadn't chosen this map, so how could they have such a strong understanding of the map? He truly didn't understand why he had lost. Jiang Botao tried to struggle. But with only 11% health, it wasn't enough. Being able to survive for so long was thanks to his class being a Spebyard. Plate armor offered high defense. He fell. Empty Waves died. His ghost floated up, and his screen turned grey. Jiang Botao stared blankly at the surrounding battlefield as his ghost floated higher and higher. Suddenly, Jiang Botao saw something floating above that stalagmite. It seemed to be some sort of spinning round object. That's electronic eye. Jiang Botao was speechless. He hadn't thought that dancing rain would bring along this skill. Electronic eye was a mechanic skill. The user could see whatever the eye saw. This was the skill that Sumo Chung had placed on her weapon. Everything was answered. He had carefully observed dancing rain, calculated a route, and made predictions. It turned out that a simple electronic eye had ruined all of his plans. Dancing rain might not be able to see him, but the electronic eye could. The broadcast had finally found the reason as well. A replay was performed from the electronic eye's perspective. It wasn't as clear as a character's point of view, but it was clear enough to see empty waves movements. Sumo Chung had grasped Jiang Botao's intentions very early on, but she calmly went along with it. She waited until the final moment to get the first attack off before Jiang Botao, cleanly sweeping away the rest of his health. Jiang Botao walked down from the stage. The Samsara fans had been hoping that Jiang Botao would be able to deal a lot of damage to Sumo Chung like what Yi Shu had done to him, but instead, Sumo Chung finished him off cleanly. It was rather disappointing, but when they thought of Jiang Botao's brilliant performance in the previous fight, their moods instantly lifted. Both sides were now at their third player. Sumo Chung had won with 100% of her health intact. The match was completely even. However, the Samsara fans had complete confidence in their next players. Lu Boyuan, an all-star, the #1 grappler in Glory, got up and walked towards the stage. Applause was sent towards Jiang Botao. Applause was also sent towards Lu Boyuan. "We are the champions!" Samsara's fans roared. End chapter.